Spinosaurus aegypticus and Tyrannosaurus rex, two massive theropod dinosaurs that lived in both different times and different places. Two massive titans that would have never encountered each other even if they wanted to. However, we do still see them fight each other or just compete in some way, shape, or form in media. And that is, of course, what we're doing in this video. We are going to be taking a look at all of the different confrontations between Spinosaurus and T.rex, and we're going to tally up a score, and whoever has the most points at the end is going to be the ultimate champion in terms of these two theropod dinosaurs. I just figured it'd be a really fun video to do while I'm also working on the many interpretations of T.rex video, so yeah, let's get into it. So, naturally, we'll go ahead and start off with the beginning. Jurassic Park 3. So, per the behind-the-scenes features, it seems that Jack Horner, the paleontology consultant, was tired of Tyrannosaurus rex. It, of course, was the main big theropod of the previous two Jurassic films. And because of that, he wanted something to dethrone it, to be the new terrifying dinosaur that everybody thought of when thinking of the Jurassic films. And so, he made the hierarchy of the DC universe change by introducing Spinosaurus to completely annihilate T.rex. This is, of course, where the ball started rolling. This is what got a lot of debates out there of who would really win, Spinosaurus or T.rex. You guys already know how the fight went down. Spinosaurus seemingly is at a disadvantage when it first gets its neck locked in the jaws of Tyrannosaurus rex, and it seems hopeless for it. I mean, in reality, that probably would have been game over, but it manages to break free and eventually snap the Rex's neck, leaving it the victor and, of course, the new big bad of the Jurassic franchise for one movie. Anyway, for a single movie, it was the big bad. But with that outcome, that means that Spinosaurus gets the first point. Yay! But then after that, they have a little bit of a rematch in the Jurassic Park arcade game. Tyrannosaurus faces off against Spinosaurus, and it throws our poor boy off of a cliff, kind of evening the odds there a little bit. So the second point goes to Tyrannosaurus rex. So far, we are neck and neck. It's very early on. But then I figured I'd mention this one too. There is, of course, the Lego Jurassic World game. What this game does is retell all of the events of the Jurassic films, but with Lego. And because of that, the T.rex versus Spinosaurus fight likely has the same outcome. We don't see the outcome of the fight. However, we do encounter Spinosaurus later, and we don't encounter the Rex. So you can only assume that it was likely the same outcome, though it probably would have defeated it in a very funny Lego way. But because it's likely what that outcome is, we'll go ahead and give that point to Spinosaurus. So that's 2 in favor for the Spino. Then we'll wrap things up with the Jurassic franchise with Camp Cretaceous. Now, these confrontations in Camp Cretaceous are very tricky because, first of all, when the first fight happens, the Spinosaurus is being controlled. It's fighting against its own will. It's being controlled by humans, and so we can't really gauge if this was a solid fight. Essentially, I mean, it does win. It does win by being controlled. But then later, when it's not controlled, it goes up against 2 of the Rexes, both Little and Big Edie, and it loses there. And that's a little bit unfair too, because that's the only instance that we have on here where one of these theropods is getting ganged up on. So, because of that, I can't necessarily give a full point to either side. Therefore, I will be giving a half point to Spinosaurus because it was being controlled, and a half point to the T.rex because there was 2 of them. So, half points for both creatures. Next up is Primal Carnage. This is a very awesome fight that I highly recommend you go and watch if you haven't seen it already. Spinosaurus ambushes the T.rex by jumping out of the water and grabbing onto its snout, and we get a little bit of a scuffle, and it ends with the Tyrannosaurus rex putting its bite force to very good use, pretty realistically, all things considered. So that's another point for the Tyrannosaurus rex. Then, Dino Dana and Dino Dan. Now, in Dino Dan, the series, there is a little confrontation between the Rex and the Spino. They do not fight. They end up having a race. I decided to count that because it's still technically T.rex versus Spinosaurus, and the T.rex wins the race. So that's another point for the Rex. But in Dino Dana, there's an actual fight between them, and as you'll see, as you probably saw from my community post, I couldn't actually find the outcome of that, like who won that fight. So I was asking all of you, and all of you said that we don't actually see the outcome. We don't know who wins. I just kind of assumed that, like, because I watched the whole clip in its entirety, and I know that they leave the fight, and they're like, "Oh, I'm sure that the T-Rex will be fine," and then I assumed that later on in the movie they come back and we get confirmation on who won, but apparently that doesn't happen. You can assume who won, like it's likely the T-Rex did, both because it's T-Rex and she was kind of being painted as the good guy, whereas the Spinosaurus was the bad guy who trying to go after the baby Rex. So you can assume that the T-Rex won from that, based off of that alone, but because we don't actually get any confirmation, I don't think I can really count any points. So this is just a long-winded way of saying that no points are given for this one. Next is Teen Titans. So it's a little segment where the Titans are kind of fighting evil versions of themselves, and the evil Beast Boy turns into a Spinosaurus, whereas Beast Boy turns into his classic T-Rex self. Now, this is just a small portion of the overall fight. They turn into a lot of different things to fight each other. They only fight as these two dinosaurs for a brief little section. So I won't be looking at the winner of the whole fight, just the dinosaur section. And in this little section, evil Beast Boy wins. So that's another point for the Spinosaurus. After that is the little game Jurassic The Hunted, where you get to fight a gnarly looking Spinosaurus. But before you get to finish the fight, or the fight finishes you, a Tyrannosaurus Rex appears, and it's literally just the Jurassic Park 3 fight. Like, T-Rex bites the Spino's neck, and then the Spino breaks free, and then it breaks the Rex's neck. So it's literally just the same way as Jurassic Park 3. So another point for Spinosaurus. Then the anime Dinosaur King. Terry the Tyrannosaur versus Spiny the Spino in the Spinosaurus' introduction to the show. I think in the second episode, actually, if I remember properly. But they fight each other, and Terry is the winner. And because of that, Spiny turns back into his card, and the antagonists of the show get Spiny, and then he's like a recurring dinosaur throughout the show. So it was like a necessary evil to keep Spinosaurus in, I guess. I don't know, but the T-Rex wins. Another point for T-Rex. Then finally, a project that I didn't know about until I was doing research for this video, Doraemon. There's a little fight that occurs in here, and it seems to be extremely sad. I mean, like, it kind of seems like these dinosaurs are held against their will, and the Spinosaurus is just pitted up against the Rex, and it ends with the Rex winning, but like the Spino kind of defends its owner, and it gets crushed by some rubble. It's a very sad thing that I watched. I don't know about the context of the rest of the show, but from what I gather of this little scene, it was very sad. So it was a victory for the Rex, but at what cost? And there we are. Those are the fights between Spinosaurus and Tyrannosaurus. And the final tally is 4.5 points for Spinosaurus and 5.5 points for T-Rex. Surprisingly close. You would think after Jurassic Park 3 and a lot of the backlash and debate that happened after that, you would think that following projects that had a fight between these two would always go in favor for the T-Rex, but it's a little bit more split than I initially assumed. Which is very fun indeed, and definitely made this video a little bit more gray than black and white. Because I thought for sure it was going to be a slam dunk for the T-Rex, but no, that's about it. But of course, there is one fight in particular or one hypothetical fight in particular that we can talk about. What if a real T-Rex fought a real Spinosaurus? Now, there's a lot of variables into something like that. Like, what if it's an old Spinosaurus versus a young T-Rex? The Spinosaurus would probably have the edge on that. But let's say fully adult Spinosaurus versus fully adult T-Rex. Of course, these two are adapted for different ecological niches. Spinosaurus is primarily adapted for a piscivorous diet, which means that it spent most of its time eating fish. Not to say it wouldn't go after anything else if it was readily available, but that's where the majority of its food came from. Whereas Tyrannosaurus Rex was just such a heavily built dinosaur, incredibly powerful bite, and was adapted for other animals such as Edmontosaurus or Ankylosaurus or Triceratops, these really heavy-hitting dinosaurs that are very difficult to take down. And that's primarily why I don't like to do versus videos or talk about dinosaurs or any animals for that matter in a versus type of aspect, because animals are almost always just adapted for their particular niche. And it's unfair to say that one is like better, I guess, simply because it beats another one that is just adapted for a different niche. So, I mean, reality, if fights ever occurred between these two, I think the T-Rex would win more times than it wouldn't. But, that's not the funnest way to think about these real life animals. They're both awesome in their own way. But anyway, as I said, this was just a fun little video I wanted to get out while working on the Rex video. It is a longer video, and I am having issues with my editing program right now, so I hope to get it out soon. I'm very excited to get it out, of course, because we have reached 10,000, and thank you guys so much for that. I will talk about that a little bit more once I get the Rex video out, but this is just something to kind of tie us over a little bit before I get that one out, because that video will probably be a bit delayed. Just keep an eye out for that when I eventually do get it out. But that's pretty much all I have for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have an awesome day.